So back to the point of talking about the people who want to flatten Gaza. If you're talking about flattening Gaza, you are no better than the people in Hamas who want to throw every Jew into the sea. I get it. You're angry and you're upset about what's going on, and you have every right to be angry and upset what's going on because Hamas did a terrible thing. No excuse for kidnapping children, no excuse for kidnapping the elderly. None whatsoever. And whoever did that should be forced to pay. No excuse for any of that. But to then say that the entirety of the Palestinian people should be just wiped out from Gaza because of what Hamas did? The Palestinian people living in Hamas live under the thumb of Hamas. There's no way that the Palestinian people can speak up against Hamas. They'll suffer the same consequences. You don't speak up against a terrorist organization. It's ridiculous to suggest that the Palestinian people need help getting out from under the boot of Hamas. But as long as you have the threat of a conservative Israeli government that's going to keep coming after you, keep pushing settlements and everything, it's going to keep the justification of Hamas being in power. And you're going to have people who are going to keep that justification going on. Now, here's one of the things that also is often talked about with this whole thing at a macro level back again is the idea of, well, Israel is an apartheid state, or Israel is, the Jewish state, and Palestinians don't have rights in Israel. Well, that's not necessarily true. I think there is a Palestinian currently sitting in the Supreme Court. But one of the things is that you have so much bad blood right now between Palestinian people and between Israelis because of everything that's happened. You can't possibly expect there to be a single state solution. There's no way that you're going to have a single state solution between the Israelis and the Palestinian people. It just can't happen. It's just impossible. It's too small of an area for a one-state solution to fit. You need a two-state solution. Maybe even a three-state solution. Who knows? Maybe Gaza needs to be its own thing. Maybe the West Bank needs to be its own thing. And then Israel needs to be its own thing. But they need to be separate. There's no way that there's going to be any coexistence. You have to have them coexist separately for a bit, peacefully, before there's any hope of coexisting together. But you have people who are not going to accept that. And here's the one thing that if you were able to eliminate Likud from the Israeli government, if you were able to put into power in Israel a progressive, liberal, left-leaning, leftward government who would not campaign on, fear tactics and fear-mongering, who would instead want to have peace with their neighbors and would push for peace as a first resort. If you had that going on, if you had that happen as an attempt to break the wheel, but did not have that happen on the other side, and you said, look, we're going to stop with the, treating Gaza as a open air prison. We're going to allow for generally free movement. We're going, obviously countries can be able to control who comes in and out of their borders, but we're not going to, we're not going to have settlements. We're going to pull back the settlements. We're going to have y'all have pure right to self-rule, and you have the right to return. We're not going to prevent people from coming in. We're not going to control your electricity. We're not going to control the goods that come in and out of your borders. You're going to be purely autonomous. You're going to be a purely autonomous country or purely autonomous countries. And you did that. Let's say you did that without any preconditions on the part of Gaza and the West Bank, or the Palestinian people. Let's say you did that. Does anybody think that Hamas would be like, okay, we won't attack you? Does anybody think that? I don't think that. I have no reason to think that. I would love to hear from anybody. It could be this show, it could be another show. Email me, liberaldanradio@gmail.com. If you think that if that scenario took place, if we were able to just say, buy Likud, buy conservative parties, get a full-on progressive Israeli Knesset with a full-on progressive Israeli prime minister who is willing to just take away all preconditions, take away all conditions on Palestinian statehood, enable them to self-rule without any conditions on themselves whatsoever, no blockades, nothing. They're allowed to just self-rule without any Israeli interference whatsoever. Do we believe that Hamas would just be like, okay, we're done. We lay down our arms. We're not going to do any attacks from this point on whatsoever? If you believe that, I have a bridge in Brooklyn I want to sell you as well. Because I don't believe that would be the case. Now, if they replaced Hamas and Hamas magically went away and you had all peace-loving Palestinian people in Gaza and the West Bank and you left yourself with Netanyahu and Likud and everything like that, do I believe that the settlements would continue? Yes, I do. So that's why you have to get rid of both sets of conservatives. And if you get rid of both sets of conservatives, Hamas and Likud, and any other conservative political party in Israel, whatever, and you only deal with progressive left-leaning types, you take away the power of the American conservative right from being able to influence what goes on over there. So that's why I say that it all comes down to conservatism, because conservatism is the problem. And as Elizabeth says, Likud and Hamas both need to go. Exactly.